Hello, and thank you so much for coming to watch this full moon in Gemini transmission. My name is Alejandra, and this is Wildflowers Within on YouTube. I'm so happy you found me. You're welcome to join the other 50 people that are watching. And I hope that you learned something about the moon. I hope that you stumbled across this channel because you are interested in lunar wisdom, right? It is my passion. It's my devotional practice to live by the rhythm of the moon. I am super excited for a full moon in Gemini. This is our last full moon of the year. So it's just a really exciting time, and there's really amazing energies that are hitting at the moment, teaching us, showing us the way of how to tend to our garden within. Because that is essentially what we are here for. Astrology is a geocentric perspective. We are from the earth looking out, and everything is from that vantage point. Therefore, if we are children of the earth at that vantage point, our garden is also needing to be tended within, and we take our clues from the stars. So that's why I made this channel. If you're a woman who would like to go a little further in exploration of lunar wisdom, I also host live breathwork ceremonies every new moon and full moon. And it is pretty awesome. I channel the energies of the stars, and we really learn what it's like to garden and to excavate and to plant seeds. And it's just a really nice community. So if you're interested in that, the links are below. All right, let us begin with this Gemini full moon transmission. I wondered if I should put on my sexy glasses because I wanted to. Okay, I'm just going to do it. I'm putting on my glasses, which I don't usually do for new moon and full moon reports, but this is the temple of Gemini Sagittarius, right? The access that we're taking place right here on the full moon. And because of that, what comes to mind when I sit with it and think, okay, at its core, what is the foundation of this lunation? And what are the themes that it is showing me? And what I got is, all right, this is the quintessential student teacher dynamic. And because of that, I thought, well, then I put on my glasses to just become a teacher. And maybe I change my voice and talk like this sometimes. I don't know. Okay, but we're going to be playful with it because it's Mercury ruled. And let's talk about these two temples because for full moons, you're going to have the sun and moon opposed to one another. The sun right now is transiting this adventurous, amazing Indiana Jones temple of Sagittarius. And the moon is now being illuminated in her fullest glory in the temple of Gemini. So let's talk about Gemini Sagittarius because that is going to give us clues into how we can be looking for what we should be processing or like really focusing on at this time. All right. Both temples are stewarded by planets that are voracious learners. Okay. Mercury and, and Jupiter together, they go about learning very differently from one another. But at the end of the day, they are on that same quest for enlightenment. Okay. So we are looking at this student teacher theme from this vantage point. Now, how are they different? Well, Sagittarius, if you think about the archetype of the centaur, right? The wise teacher. I think my astrology teacher was saying in Vedic astrology, they call Jupiter the guru, right? It really is like where Jupiter is what is teaching you. And I thought, it's fascinating. I'm a student. I'm like, teach me more, you know? And what does a Sagittarius do? Well, Jupiter wants to go off and unify us through expansion. And what do I mean by that? Well, it's like he's going off, Jupiter is going to go off to study. And let's just say, themes like spirituality, right? A very Jupiterian theme. Then I'm going to go to all of the temples around the world. I'm going to go to Cambodia. I'm going to go to the pyramids in Egypt. I'm going to go to the ones in Machu Picchu. I found out that there's pyramids in Bosnia. Did you know that, by the way? It's like a teaching moment. Did you know they found underground pyramids in Bosnia that might be bigger than Giza? Yeah. How's that for like wow, didn't know that one was there. So Jupiter's going to go and he's going to go to all these different places and he's going to find the similarities between all of them so that we are unified as one. He's basically going to say, we all pray to something divine, and these are the spiritual points around the world, and this is how we're all similar to one another, right? And by collecting and amassing, by aggregating all of this wisdom, right? He's going to do this for same thing like universities. Jupiter is associated with higher learning. Jupiter is associated with the rule of law, the court system. And, because Jupiter as the benefic wants a well-ordered, harmonious society, right? And a big one, right? How can this world as an ecosystem do really well? How can we get along with one another? That's all Jupiterian focus. So it sees this vastness as a place to unify us. Now, Mercury, on the other hand, is definitely also on that same quest, but Mercury wants nothing to do with expansion. Mercury is like, let me deconstruct and take this apart. So I really know the ins and outs of it. Okay. Mercury is there to break down everything. It's like the Rubik's Cube, like wants to take it apart and then put it back together, right? So it does want to eventually like bring things, but it only can do that once it understands every single facet and every single detail of coming and breaking down. And when I think about this temple, like imagine I know these places are, not for us to like go and visit and touch, but it like a celestial temple of Gemini, but they're also metaphors for places inside of us. And so when I think about the temple of Gemini, I think, oh my God, what would it look like to walk into this place that's Mercury's home, one of his homes, right? The masculine air temple of Mercury. And it's like everything would be like kind of Hogwartsy in the sense that, there's going to be secrets. You have to like do certain codes in order for things to reveal themselves. Or, a door will be there one day and then it's like trickster energy, like, oh, it's 5 o'clock. It's not here anymore. Dang it. Dang you, Mercury. Where do I have to go find it? um, it's going to have like texts and languages from all over, but not just like, English or Spanish or Portuguese, but like, math and science and alien speak or light language codes. I mean, think of communication in every single form possible can be discovered here. And there's also going to be this place of experimentation, a place where we like a laboratory where you're putting different ingredients together to figure out more secrets or trying different things in that quest to understand and enlighten us. So when we think about a full moon in this temple, at its core, it's going to be your mental faculties, and we're thinking about the student teacher dynamic. So it could be very as easy as, who are my new teachers that have come into my life recently that are really helping me evolve mentally in places where have been a little, where they may or may not have been difficult to shift? Or are you yourself becoming a better student at something? Are more things? Are you having more curiosity? And all of a sudden, you finally signed up for this one course that is like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing, and you're really excited about it because it's going to bring some sort of knowledge to you. On the other hand, where are you maybe showing up now? You're seeing, oh my gosh, maybe I can start to teach this. Maybe you've acquired or you've done so many experimentations related to a certain topic, and you want to look at where Gemini is in your chart for the clues to say, wow, I think I'm at a point where I can offer this now for people to learn about. And maybe it is like I'm going to teach them and break down the science of it or the pattern of it or the codes of it, whatever it is. And it can be like, and the reason you're getting to this moment is because you were willing to take a risk. You were willing to go into the details and dive down and touch stuff, in the name of learning, in the name of growing and increasing the mental faculties and your perspective and the way of opening your mind to new ways on how to see the world or your world or a certain person you've always had a belief system about. Something is now breaking open. That's what this full moon feels like at the moment. Now, with every full moon, it's also illuminating the shadow. So it's really funny. Dr. Fraser Crane keeps coming to me as I was like making my notes and trying to think about it. I don't know why this character, he comes the strongest. And I think because number one, first of all, I love Fraser. Like if you haven't watched the series, you're missing out, dude. You're missing out. Kelsey Grammer is hysterical. The entire cast is like amazing, right? And what I love about Fraser Crane and why I think he represents a lot of the shadow that can be illuminated at this time is he is so adorably flawed as a character. This is a man who is incredibly well educated. This is a man who has gone to, Harvard. He talks about getting his doctorate at Harvard. Like everybody knows he's from, he went to Harvard. And what that does, so the shadow side of being out there and learning all these things is sometimes we can come to a point where it was like, I already know it. I know this, right? And that's what turns Fraser into a snob, an intellectual snob, of like, oh, well, of course I know, the concerto for this. I saw it in Vienna in, 1975 or whatever. Like, I don't know. And it closes your mind. So he closes his mind, right, through rigidity because there is this pompous self-righteousness that he sort of knows it all. So that could also be coming up to the surface at this time, or maybe not in, the expression of Fraser Crane. I'm not saying like your inner snob is coming out, but is there a place that is coming into your field right now where you're not willing to go explore more because you think you've learned it all? And so that's something that really, and how is that limiting you in your overall growth and evolution? Full moons don't just highlight the good, it highlights, everything, right? The weeds in our garden and where we still need to tend and where we still need to pull. So think about this as you're sitting with it and look for where Gemini sits in your chart to see like where are these aspects, and I also want to talk about the aspects because it's really important too. So the full moon, they're both sitting at 13 degrees, moon and sun, and they are squaring the nodes. Now, what does this mean? Well, let me first just explain what the nodes are. Imagine in the cosmos, right? In the galaxy, we're looking out and we see the sun and it's going around, orbiting, and it's like a racetrack, right? So the sun is on a racetrack. It's got a path that it follows. It goes at a very steady speed. Is it the slowest planet? No. Is it the fastest? No. And it always goes in the same direction on the same racetrack, just doing its thing. Okay. That racetrack, that path of the sun, we call it the ecliptic. And the moon comes in, roughly about twice a month. And the moon just decides to cross the racetrack, right? The moon intersects the ecliptic. And sometimes it comes from above and it heads down, right? Pointing like south, right? Or sometimes it comes from the south and it goes up, and it penetrates through going higher. And so what this does is these are points of karma. They're points of, if the moon represents fortune, and the place of focus, like where the moon is highlighting herself, is the realm of fortune that we're experiencing here. The nodes are also related to the eclipses, right? Which are now in the Virgo Pisces axis. So the fact that this full moon is squaring the nodes, it means that there is some sort of karmic desire that is needing to be expressed at this time. Squares are considered hard aspects. Squares are of the nature of Mars. Mars is the planet of action. So what is coming is sort of this reckoning moment. It has extra gravitas, this full moon, because it's pointing to the nodes saying, something needs to shift here. Some change needs to occur. I remember one of my teachers talked about a square like an itch that needs to be scratched. It needs to be scratched. It's demanding to be looked at, right? And for this one, it feels like either the mental perspectives that you have that are either keeping you in some sort of jail, right? Or breaking you open so that you become free. So really think about, at this time, this is speaking to your destiny. This full moon is showing you where in here you need to just either continue what you're doing. If you're doing all the things and you're like, I'm being expansive, I'm being playful, I am really not telling myself I'm the center of the universe that knows everything. I am going for it. That is go for the place where experimentation is still asked of you, right? Continue to play with it. Don't close the experiment down, right? That could be like the shadow side of it. Well, again, when you think you've learned too much, because what you could possibly be doing during this full moon, it's saying if you don't take the action, then you could be, you're making a decision basically for your destiny. And how do you want to come, where do you want to be from now? How do you want to grow? How do you want to evolve? So I mean, it just feels like a really like big deal. It's the last full moon of the year. It's all, it as mental of a moon it is, in an air sign like Gemini. The fact that, another aspect taking place is I've been talking about these groundwater trines that have been coming through since October of this year. So this Mercury is now in a groundwater trine, Mercury in Scorpio, right? Now direct. Mercury's out of retrograde. So the review period is done. Mercury finally has its bearings and it's going through again in the temple of Scorpio. It is okay to mentally process hidden darker things, darker themes in life. So we're talking about complex, deep emotions. We're talking about trauma. We're talking about secrets that have been kept hidden for a very long time that really might be like, I need to do something about this. How long does it have to stay like this, hidden? Like this could be a big push from the universe to like really start breaking down trauma in a really big way. And the beautiful thing about that is when it is in a trine, Jupiter, right, who is also one of the partners in this full moon with the sun in Sagittarius, Jupiter is speaking to Mercury from the temple of Cancer. And Jupiter's still in this retrograde, right? So themes of looking at family, that all your lineage, your ancestry, things related to, again, the emotional body, like what mental breakthroughs are you having by maybe cracking codes on like deep emotions that you've still been carrying that are now finally coming to light and being seen, that mentally is helping you process like a big aha moment to help you evolve on your path. And then that trine, so Cancer also rules things like women, things like children. It could also be the inner child, right? That the deep emotions within the inner child, those types of themes can come up. It's a lot of memory. Cancer is the temple of memory. And it's also the temple of the goddess. Are there big goddess themes coming up? Feminine mysticism, occult mysteries. That could also be a Scorpio Cancer theme coming to fruition right now, in a harmonious, big, expansive way. And then we have Saturn holding up the trine in Pisces. And, Saturn always does put like a bit of either a delay or, a heavier weight. It can't be as free moving, but it is a trine. So it's still, again, expressing itself in a Jupiter way, in a benefic way, a way of blessings. And Saturn's now direct in Pisces. This is like, for me, I feel like Saturn has shown us a end of a road in some spiritual way, that this is ending and a new spiritual path is emerging before us, or like we finally created the boundaries that we've needed to then be able to grow from here. Because remember, Pisces is the very last sign of the zodiac. This is it. Like Saturn, when it goes into Pisces, it is the culmination of so much spiritual wisdom. And with all of that spiritual wisdom, Saturn will now have to go into Aries and start something brand new, right? The cycle of life, the death to now birth something new. And it's going to be hard, right? It's going to be hard for Saturn to go into Aries. It's its fall. It's like, oh, I have to start something new again. It's hard to think about how long it takes for a cycle of completion to happen, you know? And now, like, what responsible thing, what is worth now building after my last incarnation and the culmination of my spiritual wisdom? So just a lot of things related to student teacher aspect. It could be a celebration inside of you, or a place that's showing you that you're not breaking free enough mentally, and that the moon is saying, do it. You know, you want to think about mental thoughts, processes. Are you honoring your spiritual evolution at this time? Are you honoring deep healing at this time? How is family karma changing? How is, there could be mother relationships or father relationships, anything to do with the family. Something like that is coming to fruition at this time. And, I wanted to end with an example that happened in my, like just recently, actually. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is a full moon in Gemini type of feeling. And hopefully when I give you this example, because it's like, I didn't really see this coming. But the fact that I know the energies present, it really tells me that I'm on the right path. Like it feels good. It's encouraging. Let's put it that way. It's very optimistic, right? The sun in Sag is also very optimistic. So I'm just going to keep the optimism that I'm pointed in the right direction, because it's a building of my intuition, which is also kind of like the North Node in Pisces right now, the full moon squaring, kind of like let go of what you think and go with your intuition. If you feel it and you don't really understand why, just try it. So I have been working with ancestral, a process to really get in touch with my ancestors in a very big way. There was a woman who came, earlier this year, and I had a group workshop with her. And then I was able to do a private session and got information on, like, a ceremony I needed to create on my own to strengthen the bond and of my prayer, and then create an altar of how I'm going to stay connected to them. And I've really been tending to it, really cultivating. When we had the Muertos, it was so nice. Like, it was so cool. I felt like it was just a celebration of my ancestors. So one of the things I learned, that when we do ancestral work and we're asking and we're calling in our ancestors, it's important to understand that we're not calling in all of them. Why? Because not all of them are in good places, right? Not every single person in your family who crosses is now an elder with like incredible wisdom. So we only want to call upon the elevated ancestors. And one of the things that came through in my reading with this woman, she said, don't give your, she called it ashe, like my good energy, me, the spirit of me, my chi, to just anybody, right? So, and I was kind of taken aback, like, because I have, just a big heart. And so when I pray for my ancestors, I'm like, I pray for all of you, like, I love you guys, just sending you so much love. And I just, I send all of my essence and love to the tree. And she's saying, not everybody's going to receive it. So you're sort of depleting your own, I don't want to say life force, but like, be careful with the energy, and know that, it's like when Jesus says, don't give your pearls to swine. Like, that's it. Like, don't send your energy where the door is closed, or it's going to fall on deaf ears. So I started to make this prayer. And now when I pray and I send my love through the trees, through my ancestral tree, I always say, I direct this to my elevated ancestors, and I direct this to the ancestors whose heart is open, whose eyes see me, whose ears are ready to hear me. I also send you my love. Okay. And it's been going good for a while. And something happened the other day. I bring them food. I'll bring like cornmeal, which was very important. I bring coffee, tobacco. And I heard, I didn't hear, but like my intuition was like, I need to put tea leaves. I need to put some sort of tea leaves. I want them to have more things to drink. And I was working with, there was a tea that I bought that was hawthorn and hibiscus. And hawthorn is really great for healing the heart, any kind of heart um, healing that's needed. And it will literally go in and strengthen, right? Like allow the heart to repair itself. And so I had this idea. And this is where the full moon in Gemini sort of and the grand water trine and everything, all the things like hit at once. I had this idea that if I have created this altar, which is essentially a portal, and I'm in, communication with my elevated ancestors, why couldn't I also be in some sort of service to allow it to be like a spiritual hospital and offer healing to newcomers in my lineage that needed to heal certain things? And so as I placed the hawthorn on the altar, I instructed my elevated ancestors and I said, if there are people who need to heal their heart, maybe they're not open to receiving my love or whatever, I don't know. I don't know how it works over there on the other side. But I do know that this could be a place where I can open a door for them if they wanted to come and heal. And so I'm leaving this tea for you to drink because, first of all, it's delicious and it has Jamaica and it's just wonderful. But at the same time, I want this to be open to people who are going to come in and possibly receive healing, right? The people who want to come in to receive healing. So it just felt like being experimental, right? Which is very House of Gemini. It was a groundwater trine of the ancestry in the House of Cancer. It was Mercury in Scorpio thinking about there's some trauma, there's some issues here. Not all of my ancestors are elevated. How can we heal? And then it's this Saturn, like spiritual wisdom of, all right, well, you tried one thing, so that died off. This is a new boundary that you can redraw and redistrict. And this is okay to keep your energy open for, right? Because it was just like teaching me something. And I was like, this is so cool. And I did not see this coming at all. But it's an example where I can find the signatures of the planets and really think, wow, okay, that makes sense. So I don't know where this is going to culminate for you. Like that was very detailed and very spiritual and all the things. But you have to remember, I've been really working at this for a number of years now. So I'm at a point where I feel like greater synchronicities happen because I have devotionally, followed the rhythm of the moon. And so that essentially is what I wanted to share more than anything, that this is about devotion and it is about continued practice, continued honoring, so that every time the moon comes up, full or new, new, dark or bright, that we are doing some sort of gardening and some introspection and, if you can, some energy work to really help tend to our garden so that we can create the life that we're ready to create. So I hope that makes sense. Thank you for my Gemini. Oh, my eyelashes got really close to there. Thank you for this Gemini full moon transmission. I hope it helps. I hope that you are just thinking about it differently, where this new mental clarity and breakthrough is happening. And I would love to hear from you. If you liked what you heard, you can give me a like or a comment, and you can share it with a friend. That's always welcome too. And if you'd like to breathe, we are going to be breathing for the full moon you can look at the Lunar Alchemy Circle and just click the link below. Okay, thank you so much, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Ciao.